Hey everyone, so today we're going to be continuing on this night vision series, kind of introductory phase with talking about how I have my AR pistol here set up. We just talked about the helmet, so if you missed that, check out that video. And if you haven't seen my introduction video talking about kind of laying the groundwork for what the series is going to be, definitely check that out. Again, it goes into the fact that I am not a subject matter expert. This is my best guess at what is going to be a workable setup for me with what I am trying to do, which is, again, be a more responsible American citizen, not necessarily a tier 1 operator operating operationally overseas. So this will hopefully just, again, get me to integrate myself from a only daytime shooter to someone who also has at least some ability to use my firearms and protect myself and my loved ones at night. So since we've gone over this helmet, I'm going to set this here off to the side, and then we will jump into this AR pistol that I have here. So this is a Midwest Industries 10.5-inch AR pistol. This one specifically has their quad rail. So I was kind of going with more of a Mark 18 style here, partly because I just wanted to, and also because I knew I was going to be strapping a ton of weight to this thing with lights, lasers, suppressors, and everything else. So I figured a shorter overall length is going to help make that a little bit more manageable. Now, granted, I understand the quad rail is a little bit heavier, but it just, you know, worked with what I was going for. Now, full disclosure, I did not pay full retail price for this AR pistol. I did get quite a deal from Midwest Industries on it. I did pay for part of it, but just to let you guys know the situation there. And this is probably one of the few things I won't be able to link in the description down below because YouTube hates gun stuff. So definitely check out Midwest Industries though. I do have a coupon code in the description of my video. I don't make any money off of that, but you know, it does help me find excuses to get Midwest Industries to send out products for testing. So let's talk about how I have this thing set up, and we're going to start here at the muzzle and work our way back. So up here in the front, I have my YHM Turbo K. So this is a 5.56, a dedicated 5.56 suppressor. I currently have it set up on their QD mount on a flash suppressor as opposed to a muzzle brake. I think with a barrel this short, or any gun really that you want to use for any practical purposes, flash hiders are the way to go. Don't at me, bro. That's just kind of my feelings and also stuff that I've heard from people who know a lot more about this stuff than I do. So the suppressor is going to do a couple of things for me. Just pure practicality wise, when you're shooting at night, you get more noise complaints. So having the suppressor will hopefully limit that and give me the ability to use more locations to do nighttime shooting than I would otherwise be able to, again, because of that mitigation of the sound. Now, obviously it's a 10.5-inch barrel. It's not going to be quiet, but it's going to be a lot quieter than without. Number two is when you're using night vision, this is going to help reduce the muzzle signature or muzzle flash of the gun. And what that's going to do is prevent any damage or I guess any unnecessary damage to the night vision monocular. They're a pretty big investment. I want to protect it as best I can. And again, it's just going to reduce blooming or any artifacting or any temporary, I guess, blemishes, for lack of a better word, on my view. And you know, so there's that. Also, it's just more cool that way. Moving on to the side here, you'll see this Surefire weapon light here. Now, a lot of the things that I should say a couple of the things that I've got for this series have been used. So if you saw the last video, you know that my PVS-14 I got used. This is another item that I got used. So don't be afraid to get used stuff, especially if you can have a chance to function test it first. So this is one of their lights that can be either used as a white light. So I'm just going to kick it on here so you can see it kind of lighting up the barrel there. And I can also rotate the head and use this in IR. So if I kick that on, you will probably not be able to see anything there, but if you're wearing night vision, you most definitely can. So this again gives me the ability to use both. It's not necessarily ideal, and I definitely have intentions to change this in the future to have my infrared illuminator built into my laser unit. However, to start out the series, I wanted to I guess, put myself at an already known disadvantage just so I can better articulate why that would happen, like why I'd want the illuminator built into my laser as opposed to a light illuminator combo. So I just wanted to get time with it and, again, be able to articulate that better, because honestly, I'm coming from a place of complete ignorance. I currently have that set up with a tape switch and also it's the dual button, I guess, or dual activation tail caps. So should the tape switch fail, I do have the button on the back of the light to be able to activate it, but hopefully that won't be happening. So the kind of more important part for the night vision shooting stuff here is this IR laser. So this is the Zenitco Purst 4. I got this thing from Ivan Tactical, straight out of Russia. I can't remember. I tried to learn some Russian phrases to talk about this. The Cyrillic alphabet and me don't get along very well. So this is in both visible and infrared laser. This is one of their Gen 2 Green Plus units. So this thing is ridiculously powerful, and it's something that I've wanted to play with because I've heard all different things about it. I've heard how powerful the Russian lasers are, and I'm excited to finally have it now. Coming straight from Russia, especially during the global pandemic, it did take a while to get here, but Ivan Tactical keeps these things in stock very, very frequently. And they also have the just regular green if you don't want to spend all the money for the Green Plus. They also have a red, which is also significantly cheaper. Now, Zenitco makes a couple different kind of night vision oriented stuff. So they do have the Purst 3, which is a laser illuminator combo. They have dedicated just IR lasers. They have units with the IR laser, IR illuminator, and a white light. They have all different kinds of stuff. I wanted to start with the Purst 4 because I wanted to again, start simple and cost effective. So these things you can get new for roughly about $400. You compare that to like a D-Ball i2 or something like that. I can't remember the differences between the i2, the A3, or the D2. I know the D2 because one of my friends has one. Those are about $1,000, and this is a much, much more powerful laser. But again, it doesn't have an illuminator included with it, so hence why I have that light. So this thing is something I am super excited to be testing out, and I'm going to be doing a lot of coverage with this thing. And I guess really quick to explain why I went with the green. A, it was more powerful, and B, originally I wanted to do the red just because it was cheaper. However, talking to a friend of mine, your red dot is obviously red. If your laser is also red, it can be hard for your brain to process what it's looking at. And so having green makes it very, very obvious which one is your laser and which one is your red dot. Assuming you're using this during the daytime, I'm going to mostly be using this only for nighttime stuff, in which case the color doesn't matter. But again, the more powerful laser will potentially matter depending on how far I'm shooting or what kind of environment I find myself in. Now this does come with a tape switch. However, I'm choosing to just run it through the activation buttons, which are on top and on the back. And again, we're going to be doing a lot more coverage of this stuff. If you didn't see the previous videos I did, everything I'm talking about will get its own dedicated video. Just doing more of a high level overview here. So that is the Purst 4 visible and infrared laser. So moving back here to talk about the optic, this is actually one of the new SLX 25mm red dots from Primary Arms. Don't think they're actually released yet. I'm still kind of in the testing phases of this thing. However, I did already swap out the factory mount that it comes with for a Midwest Industries lower 1/3 co-witness mount. Now, these things already sit higher on a standard mount than a factory like T1, T2 mount. So the mount that comes with it is pretty short to get it to an absolute co-witness height. I wanted a little bit higher because with the absolute co-witness height, my laser literally cut my field of view in half. By going to the lower 1/3 co-witness height here with the larger body of this, the bottom of my red dot is now at the top of my laser, so I still get a full field of view. It does change height over bore, it does change your trajectory a little bit depending on what your zero is, but it does make this actually usable during the daytime as a red dot. And that to me was still very important. I want this to be just as usable during the day as it would be without all this stuff. And I want this to be just as usable at night as it would be without all this stuff. So that has a good compromise for me. And for what it's worth, I actually paid for this mount. I actually bought this at the store that I work at. And I guess also while I'm talking about Midwest Industry stuff, up here on the front sight, I do have one of their PEC 15 front sights. So it's a fixed front sight, so it's always up. However, it does have a little cutout here to perfectly clear the laser. Now, I've actually tried this out with a Holosun laser, and I've tried it with this Purst 4 here, and it perfectly clears that laser, so I get no blooming off the side of this front sight and no obstruction of the laser whatsoever with this front sight. So it gives me the ability to still have backup iron sights, still gives me a reference point if I wanted it, but also doesn't get in the way of using my night vision stuff. Again, I want this to be just as usable during the day as it would be otherwise, and just as usable at night as it would be otherwise. Now that is paired with the Midwest Industries Combat flip up here in the back, which I can kind of co-witness now with this red dot. Again, it's sitting right at the bottom of the objective. We'll see how that works in more testing. Again, we're going to be going more in depth into all this stuff. Then pretty much everything else, I have a Grove Tech sling because I want to be trying those guys out. They're an Oregon company, and I had an opportunity to test out one of these things, so I'm going to be doing some testing with that. I've got a Tourniquet Ranger banded on here. You know, I did buy some. I did buy these Ranger bands from Gear Ward, and I know that I can make my own. I can also make my own sandwiches, but Jersey Mike's does a much better job at it. So. Anyway, that's kind of my philosophy there. So that is kind of the pistol in a nutshell. I did add a Radian Talon ambi safety for what that's worth. But yeah, so that again is just kind of the pistol build in a nutshell. It's already worked pretty well for me up to this point. Things are already pretty promising with it. However, I'm going to be doing a lot more shooting with this thing now at night. With this Purst laser, some other lasers, we're going to be swapping out lasers and illuminators a lot so we can test and compare different items out there, lights and illuminators a lot, again, to be able to compare and contrast things out there, possibly different optic mounts depending on what opportunities I find, and then possibly swap out suppressors depending, again, on what opportunities I'm able to get out there. Now, while I am planning on starting the series around AR-15s, because that's what I predominantly run, and that's what's predominantly run here in the States, I will be transitioning to also going over night vision setups on AK-47s, because I feel like that is a very underserved part of the market. When I was looking at how to set up IR lasers and illuminators and stuff for night vision on an AK, I found very little information. So I'm going to try to be everyone's guinea pig and try some of the stuff myself, and hopefully figure out what works, what doesn't, again, so you can learn from my mistakes and save some money and waste my money in the process. I wanted to say waste because it's all a good learning experience, and again, I have some really awesome companies helping me out, again, with like Midwest Industries providing the pistol at a much reduced cost, and then Ivan Tactical helping me out with this laser. Again, I paid 20,000 rubles for it, but really do appreciate them being willing to help me out on the price of that, and hopefully some more products in the future so I can bring you some very high quality units at a much reduced price compared to some of the other German or American counterparts out there. So anyway, again, that's kind of my setup here in a nutshell. If you haven't seen my helmet setup, or again, you haven't seen the full introductory video, I definitely recommend checking that out again so you can get an idea of where I'm coming from with this series. But I also want to say thanks to my patrons for making videos like this one possible. I don't make nearly enough money from Patreon to be able to buy night vision units. However, it does help me with getting ammo and other time to go out to the range to justify putting rounds through setups like this so that I can come with a more educated opinion and talk to you viewers about this. So really do appreciate the contributions they're making, which is why I post all my content over there early, and I actually have been picking their brains about different stuff they may or may not want to see in this series. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, definitely check that out. Again, check the links in the description for a lot of this stuff that you see here, at least what I can link to. Some really, really good options out there that don't cost an arm and a leg, but we'll see through my experience how well they work. So anyway, with all that being said, at the end of this video, I'm going to be linking to the other videos in this series. I'll be making a playlist about it. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Don't just take my word for any of this stuff. There's a lot of good information out there. Again, John Lovell, Grantham, TNVC, a lot of good information out there. So don't take anything I say as gospel, because again, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But anyway, with that being said, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.